Hi everybody, good to see you all again. I'm going to answer a question today about ancestors and DNA, and I want to encourage you all, if you have any questions, to post them in the comments below and I will try and answer them next week. Those questions are mostly what makes up this material for this channel, so you are in charge in a big part for that creation, and thank you for being a part of that with me. This is the question. I'm curious if you believe our personal energy is affected by our ancestors, not just health-wise, but thought patterns and beliefs that get handed down through generations, maybe through DNA. Do you think we work with our ancestors on a soul level to experience certain things and learn certain lessons? So this question has two parts. The first is about thought patterns and DNA, and the second is about your ancestors. First, I want to say yes, all of what you're talking about, most of what you're talking about happens, including your ancestors are all aware of you now and are have an investment. They are invested in you working through a lot of the patterns that they handed down to you, whether they are ones you want or ones you don't want, ones that work for you or ones that don't work for you. They are watching you using the strengths that they handed down to you to work, to create things in your life. And also they are watching you trying to work through thought patterns that aren't working for you. And they have an investment in you working through those because they also had those issues, and they may be ancestors that you did not get along with. If you're talking about grandparents, or maybe would not have got along with if you're talking about great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. But they are still people that struggled with the same things that you did. You may very much resent your grandparents or your parents for handing you down these issues, but they struggled with those issues too. And in a lot of ways, when you have a breakthrough and find a new, more effective way of working with a certain pattern, then they are celebrating with you because in many cases they could not during their lifetimes work through that pattern themselves. But they are often your biggest fans and your biggest advocates, watching you, trying to help you move through that because they understood what it was like to live with those patterns themselves. So yes, there is a group effort. There is a group effort. A lot of times they help create patterns, thoughts, and beliefs that are holding you back in life, or that are not helping you move forward in life. And so they have an investment in that way. They feel a type of responsibility, not that they're responsible for your life in any way, but they were responsible for creating those patterns. So finding ways to move through them is personal to those people as well as personal to you. And that's what I mean by it's a group effort, is that whatever you're struggling with and going through does not affect you alone. Obviously, it doesn't affect you alone because it ripples out, but also in the past, it came down to you through a group effort. And so there is a group effort required for you to work through it. So people working through things should never feel alone. because whatever you're going through personally, and even if it's the most intimate struggle that you have experienced, there is a lot of help for you there, and there's a lot of celebration and empathy when you work through it and when you're not working through it. So let me go back to the start of the question now and explain that, but that was the most important part of the answer, so that's why I started with it. I'm curious if you believe our personal energy is affected by our ancestors, not just health-wise, but thought patterns and beliefs. Yes. Obviously, you are exposed to the thought patterns and beliefs of the people around you while you are in the womb, because you can sense and feel emotions and you feel everything that is going on. So a lot of people, when they talk about that, they're focused on traumas that have happened, because people tend to be drawn towards the negative, but also strengths, the strengths that your parents and grandparents had and the beliefs they had that really work for them, they are passed down to you as well. And it would benefit people to take some time to sit and focus on what you have learned from your family and those around you that really work for you and that are your own strengths as well. Mostly that is how it is passed down. It cannot be overstated how powerfully how powerful it is that you experience those thoughts and beliefs, and you usually take them on when you are young. And so that happens from generation to generation. So that's something that happened 4 or 5 or 6 generations earlier. People's responses to that will be still very often are very prevalent 6 generations later, because it is passed down from person to person. And you just experience it and believe it and live it. Most people do not question the beliefs that are given to them, a lot of the beliefs that are given to them when they are young, which I call designing your internal landscape. Most people do that most people are very passive about designing their internal landscape, meaning they just take it on. Their thoughts and beliefs, your thoughts and beliefs are your internal landscape. Most people just take that on when they are young and do a small amount of questioning and building of it as they get older. So what I'm talking about in these videos is actively designing your internal landscape and designing it in a way that works for you. Most of the passing on of thoughts and patterns happens through experience while you're here. There is some that is passed on health-wise through DNA. However, what I really want to stress is DNA is best thought of as a blueprint for your body to work off of. And the problems that we get when people think about DNA is they think of it as a hard structure that their body has to follow and that it has no choice in what to create. That's not how it is at all. It's a blueprint that your body receives. Now, a lot of people may follow that blueprint because they don't have a focused intent to do things differently. So if you think of building a building, just to explain how fluid DNA is, if you think about building a building, if an architect designs a blueprint and gives it to a builder, most builders might follow that blueprint, and then you have the building that is on the blueprint. However, you do not have to do that. Just because you get a blueprint doesn't mean that that has to be the building that comes out. There may be extra steps involved in recreating something new. However, that possibility is there. DNA is a lot more fluid than we give it credit for. You can change things around you. Everything is energy. Everything is energy. And DNA is also energy and is fluid, just like all other energy. Now, it is helpful to have that blueprint because you don't want to redesign the basic structure of a body every human that is born. There's momentum in that blueprint of DNA, so it's easier for a body to just get this blueprint. This is how a body should be designed, and work off of it because that momentum, that energy is already going. So that is very useful and helpful to have. If there is something in there that you don't like, then energetically you can allow your body to change it, and it has the capacity to do that if you are allowing it to move in that way. You working on thought patterns and beliefs and allowing more healthy ones to emerge will assist your body in doing it, in creating a better blueprint. But what I want to emphasize, as I do in most of my videos, is you are your own creator of your body and your own creator of your thoughts and beliefs. And while things are handed down to you from ancestors, they are just as invested in working through them and changing them as they were in handing them down to you. Sorry, they're more invested in working through them and changing them. So if you want to work with your ancestors in doing that and ask them for help, they would be more than happy, meaning they would be absolutely thrilled to have the opportunity to be more actively listened to, even though they are involved in trying to help you, whether you're actively listening or not. Okay, that is all for now. Thank you so much for being here. Hope to see you all next week.